Also on our radar this week on Parliament Hill, the threat of ultra-right-wing extremism in Canada. The head of Canada's top intelligence agency testified before a Senate committee today and said his agency is more and more preoccupied with it and troubled by it. Meanwhile, a Conservative senator questioned the nature of the threat of white supremacy in this country, and that is raising questions on its own. And the CBC's Catherine Tunney joins me now with more. Hey, Catherine, thanks for being here. So what happened at the Senate committee?
Well, the Senate committee was actually meeting today to talk about Bill C-59, which is the national security bill, which they're looking at right now and trying to push through before everything goes up in smoke before the election. But when you have the head of Canada's spy agency, who's not always out and about, since he is the head of the spy agency, it's not surprising that a few other questions got thrown in there. So one of the questions came from Senator O, and he was basically asking what is the biggest threat to national security facing Canada right now. And here's what David Vigneault had to say.
We are more and more preoccupied by the number of ultra right-wing extremists, so people who are invoking a number of different philosophies, approaches, white nationalism, ethno-nationalism, white supremacists.
So there he is. He's kind of naming and shaming white supremacy as a growing issue that's keeping his team kind of preoccupied. He also talked about foreign interference, that is also a major concern for the agency going forward. And as you've covered on the show, there was a report earlier this week that's basically saying it's going to happen. We don't know exactly how or why, but we know that interference is going to happen. But I think a lot of people in the national security community kind of perked up when he definitely named out white supremacy as a growing concern.
Yeah, he was very specific, and it actually wasn't the only Senate committee where the topic came up. Tell me about the other one.
Yeah, so yesterday afternoon, the Trade Committee, not quite where you would think that white supremacy would come up, was also meeting, and they had Minister Freeland in front of them. And again, I think there was a situation where you have someone in front of you that you don't always have access to, so you're going to throw out a few questions. So Senator Leohosakis kind of questioned her on some of the remarks that she said, and to be honest, the Liberal government has said about white supremacy that it's a major threat to Western democracy. He took some issue with that. I think we're about to play a clip. So he took some issue with that, and then you're going to see her respond to it as well.
You have said that white supremacy is one of the agents that you think are of the biggest risk to our Western democracies. I would find it disturbing to believe that there's a politician in this country that believes that white supremacy is a threat to our way of life in Canada, to our communities, to our democracy.
Well, I absolutely do think that white supremacist movements are a very real, a very grave threat to Western liberal democracy. I think they are a grave and real threat here in Canada, and they are a grave threat in many other countries around the world.
So that response went on for a lot longer than that. We don't have to play all of it, obviously, but she also did make a point of naming that, yes, like, religious extremism is an issue, has been an issue, will continue to be an issue, and David Vigneault said that as well, and they both actually named out Islamist extremism. But this issue didn't just stay at the Senate, it kind of spilled out online. Freeland had tweeted that exchange on her Twitter, and Housakis responded, and he slightly clarified his question, but he also pushed back and accused the Liberals of trying to use this issue to score some political points, to make a point. And then Andrew Scheer was also asked about it earlier today, and you know, he said that he did speak to the senator and he clarified his points that he and his party denounced white supremacy, but again, he is accusing the Liberals of trying to inflame this issue. So it's unlikely that this issue will be going away.
Unlikely. Okay, thank you, Catherine. The CBC's Catherine Tunney.
Thank you.